Welcome back to American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, sponsored by AVET Project. Folks, we have in studio with us right now Brian Jaskiewicz, retired Army and founder of SCIS. What's SCIS stand for again, Brian?
Space Coast Intelligence Solutions.
That sounds serious. We'll get to that in a minute. Glenn, you wanted to follow up on the end of our
before we
conversation.
get into the to your company, you were talking about, while we were off the air primarily, about the degrees you got. What degrees did you get, and did you use the GI Bill to get them all?
Yes, absolutely. When I came into the Army, I was fortunate enough to have a couple of years under my belt in college, so I had 40, 60 credits, whatever it was, enough to get me a little bit of rank. So I came in and was able to be an E3, it's vice an E1. So when I came in, I used the, like I said, I had the VEEP program.
Which was a 2-for-1, as I recall, right?
Yes, and there was another kicker depending on your MOS. They gave you a little bit extra money, which was a great benefit. And then during my time, I didn't actually have to use my VEEP. I was able to use tuition assistance and finish my bachelor's degree while I was stationed in San Antonio in late '92. Took some courses down there and finished up my degree. And then also went about getting a master's degree before I retired in 2005. I had changed from VEEP over to the Montgomery GI Bill. It wasn't the 9/11 because that was a little bit after that program came in after I changed over. And then after I got out, I also completed another master's degree a couple of years ago using my Montgomery GI Bill. And I still have a couple of months left, but my clock's ticking and there's so much going on.
Yeah, well, speaking of the clock ticking, let me remind folks out there, question I used to get a lot when I was working as the manager of the County Veteran Service Office is, you've only got 10 years, and I think it's 12 now for the post 9/11 GI Bill. Prior to that, the Montgomery GI Bill, you only had 10 years to use it. And
Exactly.
that worked a little different than the post 9/11 does in that that Montgomery GI Bill paid you X amount of dollars per month while you were going to school, depending on whether you're half-time, three-quarters, or full-time, and the size of your family. The post 9/11 now pays the school, and you get an allowance based on the zip code where you live.
That's based on locality, right?
Yeah, and a quarters allowance type thing. So it's a bunch different. You get 12 years instead of 10, but you know, gosh, I don't know. Hundreds of people used to call the office and say, I got out 25 years ago and I need to use my GI Bill, and I go, well, I'm sorry.
It's not going to work, and there's other educational opportunities for you that are offered through the VA. But Brian, you're a case study in how you utilize both tuition assistance while you were in service to complete your undergrad. What's your undergrad in?
It's a Bachelor of Science, Liberal Arts, kind of a catch-all degree. And then I have an MBA or MS in Organizational Leadership. That's the last master's I finished up.
Cool.
Excellent.
And great benefit if folks don't use that to get any kind of vocational training, education. You're wasting great money that's out there, and it's, what is it? It's free.
Free.
That's it. You earned it.
Yes, you earned it, and you need to take advantage of that opportunity and that benefit that you have before others start eroding and other crazy things, especially with the post 9/11. I believe you can also transfer that benefit to your family, your kids, your wife, those types of things.
Well, let me clarify that one too. Yeah. You can only transfer that to your family if you're still on active duty and you agree to X number of years, depending on how much you transfer, to stay longer on active duty. The misconception is that after you've gotten off active duty, you can transfer that to your family.
Not so.
And you can't do that.
Right. So there are strict parameters that you have to fall within, and that's something that you need to see your education officer about. If you're on active duty, no matter where you're at and what branch you're in, you want to check into that to get the particulars.
Oh, absolutely.
But the nice thing is, you're a great example of how you can utilize the benefits that are there. And like you said, even though we paid for them through our service, there's nothing coming out of your pocket. So let's call it again, free.
Free, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got your education. Obviously, you retired. What was the year again?
2005.
Okay. Now what happens?
Now what happens is I go out and be a contractor, and I start working for a small company that got bitten, or I could say shark bite. You got a big company that comes in next, swallows it up, and then the next thing you know, another larger company comes along, and that's the way the world works in government contracting. Small companies do well. They get bought by bigger companies, and then maybe even bigger companies after that. So I spent a couple of years in the Washington, D.C. area, where I retired out of Fort Myers and worked for some large government contractors there. Decided I'd had enough of the Beltway stress, and you're spending almost 15 hours a week in my vehicle driving back and forth to work.
Yeah.
And got a lot of books on tape and kind of things done, and listening to talk
That's
radio
good.
and a bunch of other things. So, and then moved down here to Florida, worked for another couple of large contractors and a small one, and decided, hey, you know what? One of the things the military did is gave me a lot of great opportunities to lead and to do things and organize things, and the military puts you in great opportunities to advance yourself and really see how you can do in some very interesting situations depending on where your assignments are. Guys and gals that are over in Afghanistan, leading squads out on patrols and security missions, they're young folks that are in charge of actually the lives of others, which is, there's not many other places that can happen, except in the military. First responders is another way, police, fire, emergency rescue type of opportunity. So I said, hey, let me leverage that experience and leadership opportunities the military gave me. And so I started my own business with a couple other partners here, and we started that and actually incorporated in 2008, and then didn't really start working on it till around 2010. And that's when I full-time went, while I was actually working on my master's degree, and started working on the business as well.
Okay, what was the motivation? What was the motivation to go into business for yourself? You'd been in corporate America with government contracting. You were just fed up, or you just saw
I just
an
thought
opportunity?
it was a great opportunity for me with the way things were going. Budgets were going different ways, and hey, small business, I wanted to take the advantage of having being service disabled, and I saw the advantages that the government gives to service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So that's what I kind of keyed in on, and we went and did the incorporation and started chasing business, or doing business development, and won a contract. And we're currently, right now, one of our contracts, we support Northrop Grumman out at Patrick Air Force Base at AFTAC, the Air Force Technical Application Center. We have some software systems engineers working out there supporting those folks right now.
Well, did you carve out a distinctive niche, or did you fill a void in the existing contractor landscape?
Well, you always like to find your little niche and then go out and hopefully fill that, which takes some time, and you start reading a bunch of different business books and different ways of going about attacking things. Sometimes it takes a few years to find your niche. Sometimes you're lucky and you can hit it right off the bat, and we're kind of doing multiple things at once right now, saying, hey, let's go talk to the large businesses, because the government right now is starting to do a lot of contracts and contracting opportunities where they're making the larger businesses that are prime contractors, that are the ones responsible to the government for this, where they have goals and for small business support. And the government every year has goals for small business, women-owned small business, service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses. So they're putting those requirements out there now. And the goal for the government, as they're saying, is we want to make sure that these large businesses keep to what they promise and do the work that they say they're going to give the small businesses, whether it's 3% overall, maybe it's 8%. A lot of the newer contracts that are coming out, the overall small business goals are in the 30% or more levels. So, and the government does set aside business contracts for service disabled or small businesses, depending on how they feel the competition is available out there for them to meet the requirements they need to get the job done.
And folks, we're talking with Brian Jaskiewicz from SCIS, Space Coast Intelligence Solutions, and it appears from everything you've discussed and knowing you for the last, I don't know, we've been friends for quite a while now. SCIS has found that niche, and you guys are exploiting it, and it is a benefit to anybody out there, any veteran that is contemplating opening their own business and maybe getting into some government contracting. Was it really difficult to get those designations, and does it pay off? You talked about set-asides and this wish list that the government puts on these contracts to say you've got to support the small disabled business or women disabled, all that.
Yes, depends on which section of the government you're going to work for. The Department of Defense is set up so that you can self-certify as a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and that 51% or more of the stock is owned by that veteran, or the daily day-to-day operations and everything is controlled by the veteran or the person who says they are the owner of the company and controlling all the stock. Now, the Veterans Administration has a Center for Veterans Enterprise, I believe, or something, CVE. I cannot remember all the acronyms out there, but that's quite a long process to get a certification from the VA, and that is to pretty much work specifically for the VA and go bid some of their small business, maybe it's a Service Disabled Veteran Owned or SDVO set aside, and you have a little logo, and if you go out to our website at www.goscis.com, goscis.com, you'll see the little logo out there, and that was a very intensive process of filling paperwork out and such, and submitting minutes and all the kind of legal paperwork you have to supply when you go and incorporate tax returns, personal tax returns. They really dig pretty down deep to make sure, and it's a good thing, that the veteran is the one controlling the business, and it's not a front for someone else to take advantage of your veteran status to kind of take advantage of the government.
And there's case studies out there in the national media recently where this exactly did happen with a contractor with the IRS, and we're not talking millions, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. This guy scammed from your taxpayer wallet. So all of the steps that you have to go through in order to get those designations are worthwhile. It's not easy. Oftentimes nothing that's good is easy, but it's paying off for SCIS.
Yes, it has been. And there's some really good organizations that can help folks go out there and either find jobs or help them get that certification, and programs to help veterans or just even the small business people in our area. We were fortunate enough, thanks to AVET Project, to meet a young man who I understand was on your show. And
good old Eric Sergeant Hoppenbrower.
Yes, we worked through the which now is called Career
Source
Brevard.
Right.
And they had an OJT program. We needed somebody to help fill one of our positions, and Eric had all the requirements and the background from his service in the Army, where
fellow Army soldier.
Yes, and he had
no bias there, Brian.
No, I do have Air Force. I do have Air Force, retired Air Force Master Sergeant that works for me as well.
Yes, you do.
So we're not. We've had Coast Guard folks work for us in
just
the past
ribbing
as well. Yep. And I've got a Navy guy. I'm just waiting to get the program announced so we can hire him and bring him on. So there's a retired Navy chief out there we're looking to bring in. So
speaking of programs, you had a question, Glenn.
Yeah. Share with our folks, if to the extent that you can, I guess, what type of services SCIS provides.
Okay, we go pretty much the gamut of engineering services from space to mud, say, because we do a lot of work with in the space programs. We also have some experience working with airborne platforms, and then our different types of sensors and communication work that we're working right now, supporting the Army out of Aberdeen Proving Ground up in Maryland on. So we do software engineering, systems engineering, integration work. We like to do rapid prototyping and some small rate production. So we can do hundreds of types of devices, thousands, hundreds of thousands, which we would love to do. We'd probably have to either figure out some other agreement or work with somebody that can bring those costs down and be able to efficiently provide those numbers, because we are not set up right now for that. And could we in the future? Possibly, but we're not going to go and, We're going to grow nice and slow. We're not going to go shoot through the roof and say, hey, we're going to hire a couple hundred people right now, and the next thing you know, the work dries up, and then we're laying folks off. That's not what we're about. We want to, bring the folks in. We're always looking for new folks. We actually have a requirement right now for a software engineer out there, and you can go to our website and go to our careers page. Again, www.goscis.com, and you can see the requirements for a software engineer to help us support the folks out at AFTAC.
And Brian walks the walk, folks. He hires vets. If he has a need, if you're a veteran and you have the specific qualifications that he's looking for, check it out at GoSCIS.com, because you have that along with some other tabs. And Glenn, I know that one program you were interested in talking about that's right there on the web page, the Sky Sentinel. Tell us a little bit about that.
The Sky Sentinel is a very interesting page, and Eric actually is our social media marketing guy, because he's the youngest guy in the company, and most of us are,
old and decrepit,
crossed a certain level of in our age. And Eric has helped us immensely set up all our social media sites. We're on Twitter, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. We're on LinkedIn.
What's your Twitter handle?
Our Twitter handle is GoSCIS. So if you're on Twitter, go ahead and take a look. And what we do is we post a lot of what we are able to collect off of the Sky Sentinel. The Sky Sentinel, to kind of back up a little bit, is something that one of our contracts where we support Sandia National Labs, Department of Energy out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. There's a program they started a number of years ago called All Sky Camera Network. It's a set of cameras. They kind of look, and if you go to our website, it's like a fisheye lens that stares straight up into the sky 24/7, 365.
Where is it located?
Our camera is located actually on the roof of our building. So that's pretty easy. We just kind of cable it right down into our server down there, and we can control the data very easily. There's another local camera at Florida Institute of Technology that's tied into this All Sky Camera Network.
What are some of the things that you have links, because you've downloaded and recorded some of the events that this Sky Sentinel is recording,
Yes.
videotaping.
Yes.
What are some of the things they can find right there?
Well, if you go out to our homepage, we have right on the homepage, you can click right to our Sky Sentinel page, and we have pictures of meteors that are coming into the area. We just had a meteor that came in, let's see, today is the 19th. I think on the 17th or the 16th we had a meteor come through. Even though the sky was pretty cloudy, our camera was able to take a look and catch that. We've caught a number of the big lightning storms we've had in the afternoons here, and some great cloud to ground lightning and cloud to cloud lightning. There's videos on our YouTube channel. One of our engineers, Dwayne Free, who kind of is the manager of the Sky Sentinel, he set up a really nice movie that's about 5 or 6 minutes long of a bunch of the different lightning strikes that we've caught just over our area.
It's impressive, folks. You got to check it out.
In fact, there's one effort that we worked with Florida Tech. Last year, Florida Tech published a paper on an event called a gigantic jet, which I'm not a big sky guy and atmospherics, so I kind of think of, I'm not an engineer, and I just hire the smart guys that are the engineers, right? So they're telling me about this event, and it's a very unique event in that it's like a plasma burst that comes out of a thunderhead and shoots straight up into the atmosphere. Well, they had not captured this before on video anywhere in the world that they can tell from kind of cradle to grave. You can see the lightning flashing inside the thunderhead, then all of a sudden it looks like someone took their sprayer out of their sink. You know how it squirts that kind of
Sure.
like a hose kind of a thing. It looks like they shot it straight up into the atmosphere, and you just see the light flashing straight up. So Florida Tech published a paper last year and presented it out at an international conference, and we were referenced in that as part of the research that was done. So there's a number of those events and other things called sprites, and the camera that we have on the roof, even though it is kind of a fisheye lens, we're able to see and collect events down off of Fort Pierce, and actually we've caught a couple events up in the Panhandle if they're high enough in the atmosphere, because we got a nice flat area down here
That's
in Florida.
true. No mountains here.
Yeah, till you kind of get a little rolling hills up in the Panhandle,
Sure.
kind of north of Gainesville maybe as you head down 10. So that we're able to do those things, and we're going to start in the very near future. We're talking about picking up the whole Sky Sentinel or All Sky network of cameras, which they're worldwide. There's cameras right now in Brazil, Canada, India, and we're looking Mexico and around the United States. So we're looking to expand on I think there are 39, 49 cameras right now, and we're looking to do some other things and do some research and other items, and maybe get some amateur astronomers involved so they can kind of tap in and see the comets, lightning storms, sprites, jets, all these really cool things.
All kinds of stuff, and it's at GoSCIS.com. You can't miss the link right there. You can view all sorts of past events, and it's a big network, like you said, and hopefully you'll be managing it all. Another reason for you to go to the website, GoSCIS.com. Check it out, folks. Brian, but that's just a part of your life. You know, you retire, you're like Glenn. Just
Yes.
keep rolling and rolling. Now,
Yeah, no moss.
you're also involved. Well, you've been a great supporter of AVET Project for a lot of years now. We appreciate that immensely. I mean, you really do set the standard for others to follow at SCIS and on an individual basis.
We love supporting you.
Well, beyond that, though, you've been on the board for the Military Affairs Council with the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber. There's some news that's happening. What's going on there?
I've just been appointed the chairman of the MAC.
Woohoo!
Tony,
All right.
well, thank you. Tony Solario had a bunch of things. He was the previous chairman. He just changed jobs, had a lot going on, and Tony felt bad he couldn't give the MAC enough attention based on everything else he had going. Tony is still going to be involved with the MAC and on the board, so I stepped in, and then Stu Smith, who I understand you had on your program as well, is
Wonderful
going to step
supporter
in
also.
as the and fill the vice position. So
Which is a position you held up until you got
through the yes.
the chairmanship.
Right.
We got a few minutes. Briefly, tell us about MAC. What is it?
Okay, MAC, the Military Affairs Council, is a council set up as a nonprofit as part of the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we're out there trying to help support the local military and their way of life and helping the lower enlisted, kind of focusing on them to make that connection with the local community. And if you go to any of our, and people are welcome to come, just get in touch with us. They really appreciate it. We recently had over $22,000 in gifts and prizes donated for the Junior Enlisted Appreciation Picnic out at Patrick last month. We have events such as the Stars and Strikes bowling event, which was supposed to be last weekend, but we had to cancel that, so we're going to postpone it. It'll be coming up, an announcement very soon,
But
the
here's
new date
there's-
on that. And all this money we raise goes to the local troops, whatever service it may be, to help support quarterly awards, banquets, community service awards, one of our big events. We have a wine raffle first Friday of the month for MAC of December, first Friday December. So we got a lot of things going on there. AUSA is another big project I'm involved with, local AUSA chapter.
Go back to MAC for a second. What's the big putt-putt thing coming up?
Well, that one we're going to have to postpone and slide that one too. That could be one of our new events we hold sometime in the maybe February, March, April timeframe next year. There's too much going on, and we don't want to tax everybody and ask a lot of our sponsors who have been very gracious in supporting us. And we just don't want to do and try to get too much going on. We want to do everything, do it right, and not half-step and do something bad. And people don't like that, and they won't come back and support it.
Right.
What's
Well,
this AUSA stand for?
AUSA is the Association of the United States Army, a national organization that's also a nonprofit or an educational that helps support gets the word out for the Army and helps teach people what's going on in the Army, and also has the opportunity to go and to Congress and say, hey, we support you, pay raises, benefits, other interesting things. They have a golf tournament coming up on November 1st, a general membership meeting on September 11th. That's kind of a new event, not a new event, but it's a quarterly thing that we try to do, and we usually have a speaker. We had 715th Commander Captain from
Tom Hoskins?
Yep, Tom from the
Yep.
MP Company was at our birthday. And
so let me interrupt you there because we're almost out of time here, folks. We've been talking with Brian Jaskiewicz, retired Army, co-founder of SCIS, involved with the MAC, AVET Project, AUSA, all sorts of different things. But we always want to tell you and remind you, first of all, thank you, Brian, for your service and for joining us here today.
You're more than
Absolutely.
welcome. Thank you, gentlemen, as well for your service.
Okay, we want to give you the VA hotline,
For if you're in crisis, go ahead and dial.
800-273-8255, press 1. And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.